We're going to reconvene this meeting. If you'll please rise, I'm going to have Supervisor Gould lead us in with the invocation, and would Supervisor Bishop please lead us in the pledge?
Please join me in the pledge.
What? The invocation.
Oh.
Join me in prayer,
There you
please.
go.
Lord, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this great nation that you've given us, Lord.
Gary Watson.
Please watch over our
joined the
employees,
conference.
Lord, as they work, many of them in dangerous conditions, and bring them home safely to the loving arms of their families. Watch over our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines that are out in foreign lands. Lord, bring them home safely also to the loving arms of their families. Watch over us and help us make wise decisions that reflect your values, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Now, if you all would join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think he's on the line, but I'm going to check. Supervisor Watson, you with us?
Good morning. Yes, I am. Thank
Very
you.
good. Okay, I need a motion to call for an executive session to be held on June 3rd, 2019 at 9 a.m. for discussion and consultation with legal counsel.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Honored.
Carried. Motion and action to approve waiving the reading in full of items presented for discussion, adoption, or approval at this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Now, official business to come before this board. Number one, discussion of pending or contemplated litigation claims and demand. Mr. Ryan?
Nothing to report to the board.
Okay. Are there any committee and/or legislative reports? Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I attended by phone the meeting of, and this is a long-winded acronym, it's a part of the Arizona Commerce Authority's Rural Economic Development Advisory Board, where we voted to give $275,000 to the Kingman Airport Industrial Park for their road work. We're still waiting on the signature from ADOT on that, but generally they just go ahead and rubber stamp stuff. So hopefully their rubber stamp is warmed up to stamp that. But I'm pleased to report that.
Very good. Supervisor Bishop.
No reports this time other than being involved in CSA and the legislative issues.
Okay. Supervisor Johnson.
Nothing this morning, ma'am.
And I'm Supervisor Watson.
Nothing this morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, and I have nothing this morning either. How about a county administrator's report?
I have no report today, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
And I need a motion for the approval of the April 1st, 2019 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
So moved.
Wait a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Up to the call to public, those wishing to address the board at the call to the public regarding matters not on the board agenda must fill out and submit to the clerk a call to the public request to speak form located in the back of the room prior to the meeting. Pursuant to ARS 38-431.01, a public body may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the public body on any issue within the jurisdiction of this public body. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the public body may respond to criticisms made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. We do have several people signed up this morning. Mr. Garnica, come on down and state your address, name and address, please.
My name is Arthur Garnica. I live at 3902 East Packard, Kingman, Arizona. And the last board meeting I came into, I brought you guys a complaint about the firefighters' misuse of public monies and using the fire truck. All I was asking, 'cause you guys are saying like I'm asking for like kind of like you guys don't know I'm asking too much. All I'm asking for you is to give my complaint to the attorney. You know, I was at the court hearing for Wayne Etter, and the judge said he was a victim of selective prosecution. He goes, if we're going to go for conflicts of interest, we'll go for all conflicts of interest. I have also brought you guys other conflicts of interest with the former chief and 2 other board members for conflict of interest, and the judge said in court that that was a conflict of interest with the true value. So I'm asking you guys to turn my stuff over to the attorney so we can get something done. And another thing, now at our board meeting that was at NACFED, they said that the public cannot go to a board member to make complaints against firefighters. You have to take it to the fire chief. But how am I supposed to take a complaint to the fire chief if my complaint's against the fire chief and they got a no trespassing thing on me from when I turned in a paper on Carl Hayes saying that he wasn't a resident of the special district? I brought him a paper and they put a no trespassing sign on me, or a thing, so I can't go on the property unless there's a board meeting. That's the only time I'm allowed there. So I can't even go there to make a complaint or do nothing. They're blocking me, and I feel like my rights are being violated because I can't do nothing. They're trying to stop every angle. They're trying to stop me from coming in and making my complaints. So I just want you guys to pass on my complaint about the fire truck being out of district for that firefighters sign the deed to his house or whatever he was doing. Because I know in a similar situation with Gene Bishop got pretty much the same thing. So I think if she got in trouble, why aren't these guys getting in trouble? You know, that's one person making a mistake. You got 4 people that know better. You know, that's 4 people making the. Ms. Bishop, with you is with the. You took your vehicle, your work vehicle. You sure about that? Oh, well, sorry about that. Then messed up on that one, I guess. But these are 4 people that knew what they were doing was illegal and wrong and not to do it, and they still did it. So I just was asking if you guys could just give that to the attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Ortiz.
My name is Royanne Ortiz, and I live at 1550 Monte Vista in Bullhead City, Arizona. At the last meeting you had, I did not attend. I was not here, but I did watch it on the video. I got to witness a person named Tanya Jordan take exception to 2 appointments that you had made as precinct committeeman the meeting before. However, she took no exception to the 12 applications that were on your agenda for that date. Instead, you pulled it from the agenda, and it's still not on the agenda now. And apparently you wanted to send it for an update because the process hadn't been reviewed in a long time. So that's the reason why I'm here. The problem is, as I see it, that the PC position, the precinct committeeman, is an elected position. So when we put in these applications on an off year, because there's always, it seems like in most of the precincts, there's always positions available. So it, in effect, is a nominating position to be appointed. However, you guys took on the task of trying to remedy her complaint, which was that the person who applied put a business address and not a residential address. I only have the complaint, by the way, that one article 5, item 5 on the agenda for April 15th. I happen through experience to have knowledge of what happens when you want to complain about a nominating petition, because I was involved in that. When a nominating petition goes to the elections department, what they do is they count how many signatures you have. They take no exception as to whether that's a person that is legally a registered voter, nor do they take exception to the form. And I've discovered that, at least on one position, because a nominating petition is supposed to be signatures on the front for the person being nominated, and the circulator signs the back. It's all supposed to be in one sheet of paper. I found that there was 4 sheets on there where there were 2 separate sheets. I asked the elections department why they accepted that, and they said because we're not allowed to comment on anything. But here we are today on an elected position with essentially a nominating petition, and you're commenting on them. So I would just like you to do what you do for all other elected positions and refer them to the Superior Court for resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Trent Pike? It's only Monday.
Hi, I'm Trent Pike. My address of my location that I'm complaining about is at 5091 Highway 95. It's the cattle house. You guys are mostly aware of this by now, I think. The issues that I'm still having today is that nothing has been done about what's happened to me at my property. A couple years ago, my plans came up missing, as you guys are all aware. I complained about this. After I complained about this, employees at Mojave County used the ROC to harass me. When I complained about this, I had to hire a lawyer as well, and I brought this to Mike Hendricks' attention. Mike Hendricks hired a new director at this time, and they said they found all of my plans. They said they found all my revisions, all my signed-off revisions. They told my lawyer, and they told the supervisor at that time, which was Steve Moss. They told him this. So I hired an architect, and I said, what else do you want me to do, Mr. Hendricks? Mr. Hendricks said, I have 5 items on a memo. He gave me a memo with 5 items. I began to do this for Mr. Hendricks. I hired an architect to help me with this again for the second time. When I hired the architect, Mr. Hendricks withheld that information that I'm telling you, my plans, from this architect. He hired a new chief building official at the same time and withheld that information from that chief building official. That chief building official thought that I built a restaurant with no signed off revisions. Mike Hendricks and Tim Walsh withheld thousands of dollars worth of signed off revisions. They told this architect that I had no building permit. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of construction done on this out of my pocket, out of my family's pocket. It took me 3 years to get to that point. Mike Hendricks told this chief building official, Tim Walsh and Mike Hendricks withheld the inspections to this construction that I did. There's a computerized Acela program that was out at that time. I did not know the county had this. I gave my architect the signed off revisions, the signed off inspection card, of these inspections. The chief building official said he didn't recognize them, the inspections. So I said, what do I do now? Well, I had to hire a new architect. They did a defamation of character with that architect, telling him that I built without notifying the county, which was a lie. How is this? You guys are all aware of this. Every one of you are aware of this. Very much. And nothing has been done about this. This is gross negligence. This is corruption. I don't know how else to explain this. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that this is gross negligence. This is just shy of evil. It's a little worse than that. Mike Hendricks is controlling the board as of today. Right now, Mike Hendricks is controlling the majority of the board. Excuse me, Mr. Gould. He's not controlling you. You're actually the one that got my plans, got all this out in the open so everybody knows what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's not going to be fixed in this room, obviously.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Okay, Steve Robinson?
Steve Robinson, 5373 Highway 68 in Golden Valley. There's a couple items on the agenda that were pulled, and a couple weeks ago there was a lot of smoke and haze about precinct committeeman appointments. by people that aren't necessarily that active involved or just looking for an excuse to make accusations. I want to clear up some of the misunderstanding. State law requires that a party chairman submit a list of names for appointments to a vacancy, not phone numbers, not address or email addresses. The county party bylaws require approval by both the party chair and the district director. That provision wasn't followed in one case. One of the ladies that was appointed, unfortunately, had, either due to her own mistake, it was still shown party not designated on the form. She was at the Republican Women's Club luncheon. I signed her up to be a PC. A month ago, I found out that there was a mistake. I contacted her and said, get online, change it from PND to Republican. Should I have checked it out? Yes. Should the county have checked it out before she was listed as a PC appointment? Perhaps. Secondly, a couple was registered as Republicans last August. Voter registration contacted them because they didn't have an address, because their street doesn't have they don't have a numbered address. This county registration correctly listed them as no precinctable address, but they knew right where they lived. But they put on their application form their actual mailing address. I knew that because I have the same mailing address, different suite number, box number. So I met with the couple 2 weeks ago, had them fill out a form showing the map, showing exactly where they lived in Golden Valley. So the accusations about that were unfortunate because it wasn't an honest accusation of, did they make a mistake in listing residence address? Yes, they did. I prepared a 2-page form. One page was the application. The second page was personal information. I believe we don't want to intimidate people from becoming active politically. I think we should encourage that. A lot of people are afraid of having their phone numbers and email addresses made public through the public records on PC appointments. The other thing I put on my page 2 was a contract between the district office and the PC to be appointed, saying, here's what we're asking you to do. Be involved, be positive, work for the betterment of a party. Here's what the district office is going to do for you. So I'm encouraging you, I don't know why it was pulled off the agenda, but I ask you to follow the law. Don't require any more information than the law requires, which is a name, nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. There's no one else signed up, but I'll open it up if anybody wants to come down for their 3 minutes. Anyone? Okay, I'm going to close the call to public.
Madam Chairman, may I make a statement, please?
Ms. Ryan?
It just has to be responding to criticism, and that's it. Just leave it at that.
Okay, make it short, please.
Okay, I will. Again, like I said, when Mr. Pike previously stated, I believe our department has tried to do everything we possibly can to assist him, and we, regardless of his feelings towards the department, will continue to do so. And I've had 2 supervisors in meetings with Mr. Pike and myself, you and Supervisor Gould, and I believe you all would agree that we've done everything we possibly can to help him. I would like to state that there was a letter that he mentioned that was sent out in 2017 with 5 items on it that he had to complete to reach the finish line on his project. And that status, as far as I'm aware, hasn't changed. So, but thank you. And again, Department Development Services and my office, regardless of his feelings towards us, are willing to assist in any way we possibly can.
All right, on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda items, what? Oh, which I think, okay, I'm so sorry. We do have 2 presentations, and they're right on top of my agenda, so sorry about that. The first, I'm going to switch them on. They're in a different order on the agenda, but I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to have the presentation by Sheriff Doug Schuster of the Arizona Game and Fish Department's 2018 Boating Officer of the Year to Mojave County Sheriff Sergeant Kyler Cox.
excited.
Good morning, Chairman Angus, distinguished members of the board, Mr. Epsil, and of course, County Manager and Madam Clerk. This is an exciting time for us. This is something that I enjoy doing very much, and I want to thank the board for allowing us to use this public forum to recognize one of our own. I have with me here today Sergeant Kyler Cox. I also have the Arizona Game and Fish Boating Law Administrator, a good friend of mine, Tim Baumgartner, here to assist. Each year, one officer in the state of Arizona is selected as the Boating Officer of the Year. This award is merit-based, and only the most dedicated law enforcement professionals are considered. I'm extremely proud to recognize Sergeant Kyler Cox as this year's recipient of the Boating Officer of the Year award. Sergeant Cox has worked tirelessly on the lake and rivers of Mojave County. He is directly responsible for the Sheriff's Office Boating Safety Division, and he's committed himself fully to that role. He trains new boat deputies and oversees volunteer boating programs with members exceeding 40. And moreover, Sergeant Cox, he's very active in promoting boating safety, and that's something that's very, very important. You can often find him at educational events and in the local schools. He has a winning mindset. He's always up to the task, and I have come to rely on him very heavily for his leadership. And quite honestly, I wish I had 10 more just like him. So it is my honor to present Sergeant Kyler Cox as your Arizona Boating Officer of the Year. Congratulations, Kyler.
Thank you very much, and congratulations,
Thank you, Board.
Mr. Cox. Okay, next up, we have Erin Collins, of Facilitation of 2019 Open Enrollment Benefits.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Aaron Collins. I'm the president of Aaron Collins & Associates. We serve as the consultant to the Mojave County Employee Benefit Trust. The trust instrument that created the trust requires that at least once a year we present basically the results the trust has achieved in the preceding year, and then give the board a view of what's coming in the coming year. So we call it basically the state of the trust. So if I can direct your attention to the monitor, I'll start off with the financials for the year. We've actually had two very good years in a row. In the 2017-2018 year, we had a positive year cash flow. We had about $1 million to the good. You'll recall that in the year prior to that, we literally flipped it. We had about an $800,000, $900,000 loss in the preceding year. And then in 2018-19, through the end of March, we're actually on track for about a $2 million increase again. What that's credited to, it's a little bit down towards the bottom, is that a decision that was made in January of 2016, at which time we swapped out the medical network for all medical services for the other 49 states. And the primary benefit we saw from that is that because of the geographic location of Mojave County and its employees, when we get critical cases that are transported on an emergency basis, they more often go to Las Vegas than they do to Phoenix, just because of proximity for available beds. The average cost for a case in Las Vegas is considerably higher than what we see in the Phoenix area. It's just a less competitive market for some reason. So what we've seen since that time is about a net $1 million, just shy of $1 million reduction each of the preceding or the following 3 years, just in the large cases. So it's actually a structural change, and we're now aware, based on that, we've had a constructive, positive change in the cost structure of the trust as a result of that decision back in 2016. In 2019-20, the actuary presented kind of minimum and maximum changes to the rates. On the low end would be if everything goes swimmingly well, and then the other is kind of the worst case scenario. And because of that, we're able to make some changes within those two goalposts and hold the rates flat. Whereas in other circumstances, had the experience been different, it would have been about a 3.4% increase. And then down at the bottom, again, I show that we credit most of that to the Aetna network. The large cases, just to give you some perspective on that, typically something on the order of less than 0.5%. of the cases, less than 0.5%, will typically be at about 30% of the total spend. We actually hit, prior to that Aetna network, we hit 51% of the spend from that small number of cases. So now we're down exactly where we should be, back into the 30% range. So financially, the trust is doing very well. Looking ahead into 2019 and 20, we made some changes, and they vary a little bit between the exclusive provider organization, that's kind of the copay model, and the high deductible health plan, just based on requirements under federal law. So under the EPO, we put in an option for employees, primarily to the ER and for people who can't get into a primary care physician. We have a thing called Teledoc, and it's 24/7, 365. Anywhere you can get access to your phone or a computer, you can do it verbally, you can do it by imaging over the phone, you can sit in the computer, you can do it on call, you can do it scheduled, but it gives them an option for simple things, urinary tract infections, pink eye, throat infections, that type of thing. Basically gives them an option to stay out of the ER, and the actual cost of the trust is about $45 a visit versus $1,300, $1,800 in an ER. To encourage more utilization of that, we dropped the copay from 25 to 10. And then on both plans, we made fairly substantial rewrites to both the mental health and substance abuse benefits. And in this case, long story short, nationally, we all keep hearing about the opioid issues, and we're not immune to it in Mojave County. So what we did is we created a structure here that recognizes that it's very difficult to get to in-network mental health and substance abuse providers on your own. Very oftentimes, these types of things, particularly with the opioids, but also on more traditional mental health, the referral comes basically following an ER visit. So something happens, somebody overdoses, gets Noxalone, and then the spouse or the parents get a phone call and they've got a crisis. So they basically go to wherever they can go because the hospital stabilize them and discharge them. So this provides two access points for people facing that. One, preventative, which is, hey, look, I realize I got this issue in my house. Gives them an 800 number they can call, and a mental health or substance abuse counselor is assigned who works them into an appropriate level of care, either inpatient or outpatient, in network. And that's the magic, because frankly, if they go out of network, there's no coverage, very quickly bankrupt somebody. We're particularly proud of the fact that this has a substance abuse component, given the fact that we don't have no specific knowledge internal to the population with Mojave County, but we do know from our other clients that once we've implemented this model, we've had fairly substantial participation, particularly in the first year. And the reason we don't know is there are heavy restrictions on prescribed opioids now, both statewide and nationally. So we can track those, or the utilization of those, and people can't even get to them in certain cases, but we can't track as the street drugs. So we can't track the heroin and I forget what the other one is, the patch thing. But we're hoping that by making this available and getting the word out through the HR department, that anybody who has the issue can get help with a professional guide to get in network and get treatment. And then finally, on the PBM side for the prescription drugs, we're switching out the prescription benefit management company. Magellan's been on it since about 1998. We're moving to a company called Navitus, primarily driven, frankly, by some customer service issues, but also some concerns on cost. And we're expecting that when this one, kind of like the 2016 thing on the network, we'll know after about 2 to 3 years. We're expecting this one should be about a net $100,000, $150,000 a year savings structurally built into the plan. And then looking ahead, I'm sorry, I was one slide behind. Looking ahead, the trust invested fairly heavily in health promotion and early detection. We do it off the data. So frankly, the national data tracks with what we see on Mojave County and all our other clients, but we dig specifically in for the things that are anomalous or specific to these clients. In Mojave County cases, our 3 primary focuses are breast cancer, cardiac, and diabetes. And cardiac and diabetes we work together. So we've been doing quite a bit with screening. The breast cancer, this account still lags on the percentage of women over the age of 40 who have had a mammogram in the preceding 12 months. It's about 30% lower than we see with our other clients, so we're working very diligently with the Wellness Committee folks to kind of get that word out and encourage women, regardless of where they get it, whether they get it through a provider there or one we bring on site, to keep driving those participation numbers up. and we've had some fair success in certain areas there. You got a list of the screenings that we do. Every one of those is directed at an area of known or expected claims activity. The health risk assessment is a vehicle where there's a blood draw, and then, the basic things we all hate. What's your waist circumference, how much do you weigh, how tall are you? But kind of information for employees on areas in their own health maintenance that they could be more aware of. Skin cancer, we bring vans on site. This is not our company, it's a vendor. I basically say it's strip to your skivvies and as far as you're willing to go, and they'll check for whatever types of skin cancer in all places none of us can see. Arizona is second globally, only to Australia, on skin cancer. So this is a particularly hot area. Cardiac in Oregon, again, we do a ton of screenings for this. Frankly, various things. In Mojave County, it's interesting, and we see it elsewhere in Arizona too. There's an unusual prevalence of thyroid cancer, and there's always been speculation whether or not that is somehow associated with downwinder type issues. We don't know. Cardiac, again, just the age of the population. I believe the average age on the group is now over 46, which means you have a fairly high number in the 50-plus range that has cardiac, so we're always doing those. Healthy heart blood draw is a follow-up to that. Prostate on-site program, this is every guy's favorite exam to hate. But it's also one of our more expensive claims because it tends to go undiagnosed for longer periods of time. And what that does is drive up the cost of treatment, and it frankly reduces the likelihood of successful medical outcome. So big encouragement for the guys. Flu and pneumonia vaccine, we bring those on site every year, and then again mammograms also. This year, we're implementing our first lifestyle program. It's Walker Tracker, and you all seen these wristbands we all walk around with, various types of devices, but basically on this one it's encouraging people to get up and move a little more. The idea is to, over a period of time, just keep them more active. And what's cool about this is that it has vehicles where employees can set up subgroups to compete against each other. So you can set departments to compete against departments or internal to departments, just getting people more and more aware of simple movement. And then the final one, we have a program that's a cellular-enabled diabetes disease state management program called Livongo. We had 50 people sign up, which is about 15% higher than we would typically see for the type of population. This one is particularly exciting because it gives people privacy, it gives them professional medical support, and then it gives them a device that every time they test their blood sugar, it actually tracks for them and gives them the information that they can also then download to their physicians on how their blood sugars are doing. The reason that's so important is left untreated or inadequately treated and managed, diabetes leads to things like kidney failure, cardiac issues, blindness, and loss of extremity. So all of these things together that are on here and that will repeat are directed at targeting those areas where we know the county's claims are coming from. And if I could, Madam Chair, a particular shout out, the county has had 3 people who have come together and worked with our senior consultant on this. In addition to the HR department, it's Karen Flanagan, Val Winters, and Ruby Parks, and those 3 people have helped to bring in participation in Havasu and Bullhead and Kingman. And in all candor, the wellness is a participation game. It's all about numbers. The higher the percentage of the eligible population you can get into a particular event, the better off you are in the long term. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Anyone have any questions? Supervisor Johnson? Supervisor Bishop? Thank you. No? Supervisor Watson?
No questions, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm the chairman of this trust. I've been there since I've come on board here, and I think every year we're given a lot more choices, and we keep the costs down for the employees. And this year we have videotaped it. So if anybody wants to see how we come to these decisions, whether it be for for what the providers are and for how we come up with the numbers, it's very interesting. I suggest you watch it. So go on the Mojave County website. And thank you very much. I think we did pretty good this year. And so just the 3 things, again, is the telemedicine went down from $25 copay to $10. And I suggest people use that. I use it sometimes for simple things. And you don't have to leave your house, and they can call in medications for you. It's really easy. And then there's the copay not the copay, but you have to switch your card for the medications?
Right. We're switching the PBM, so you'll have to update medical ID cards when you go both to your physician's offices and to your pharmacy.
And the third one?
It was probably the Livongo program, which is the diabetes disease state
Diabetes.
management.
Right. So there's a new things for employees, and I'm sure you'll be reminded of it, and thank you again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay. Yes. Excuse me?
The speaker mentioned that Arizona is number 2 in the world for skin cancer. Let that sink in. Northern Europeans are not intended to live in Arizona. And that's why the rate of skin cancer is so high in Arizona. But it's important to get checked because some little spot that goes untreated could take your life. You really don't want that to happen. It's not a painful check. It's just a once over. I get it all the time. I work outside a lot. So I go in yearly to the doctor, and he sees anything suspicious, and he freezes it with nitrogen. And it doesn't hurt that bad, but it's better than dying. But keep that in mind. It's available
Much better
to you.
than dying. Thank you very much, and that's a great reminder. And we do come on site for skin cancer checkups. So again, if the employees are interested, speak to Human Resources. All right, on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items 5 through 31 will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion minus any items pulled for discussion. Supervisor Johnson? Nothing. Supervisor Bishop?
Nothing.
Supervisor Gould?
Number 26.
Number 26. And Supervisor Watson?
None this morning, thank you, Chairman.
Oh, okay. So I need a motion to approve consent agenda items number 5 through 33 minus item 26.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion, item 26, approve the Mojave County School Superintendent's Office request for the Mojave County Election Department to conduct elections to be held by any Mojave County district during the fiscal year 2019 through 2020. Do we have somebody from the superintendent's office? Is Mike File here?
Actually, my question would be more for somebody from elections.
Okay. Anyone from elections here? Mr. Sempert?
Let me just make a statement then, since there's no one here to testify. I think it's interesting that we have to call for an election. And so I've just wondered, so apparently fire districts have to call for elections. You would think that that would automatically be placed on the ballot by the election department. So I'm just wondering, if we didn't call for an election, do we just automatically retain our seats then for the next year? It seems an odd way to do it.
No, it seems odd, but that wouldn't happen. We couldn't automatically keep our seats for the upcoming year. I think this is also more so that we can do their election support, so that we can say, okay, we will put you on the ballot, and then I think they also charge the various districts for the efforts that we do. So that way we can bill them and say, okay, this is how much it'll be and so forth. So I think it's also an accounting mechanism too.
Yeah, it still strikes me as odd that we have to call for it rather than it being done automatically. Because it almost puts it in the hands of the elected rather than in the hands of the people that are supposed to run elections. Just a comment.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Sure. Madam Chairman, I move that item 26 be adopted.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That's it for consent. Now on to the regular agenda. Items 35 and 36 have been pulled. Next, item 37 comes to us from Tim Walsh, our Development Services Director. And that's discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of Board Supervisor Resolution Number 2019-041, setting forth an approval of the subdivision final plat for Surbet Vistas.
There's nobody signed up, make a motion to approve.
There's nobody signed up for 37.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 38. This is brought by Steve Latosky, our Public Works Director, sitting as the Board of Directors for the Horizon 6 Improvement District. It's a discussion and possible action to accept the petitions and $500 bond for consideration of the Horizon 6 Improvement District, expanding to include 17 parcels totaling 127 acres. And I do have somebody signed up to speak on this, but that's only for questions, right? Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, I have this discussion.
You want to discuss? Okay.
I think this is something that we need to send to staff to have them come back with some kind of a policy. Horizon 6 has a couple hundred lots in there, and they have a water allotment, which is a hard thing to get. That Horizon 6 was there before Havasu was there. And now they're looking to bring in people from outside the district, and there's only a finite amount of water in there, and I believe this is 100 and some acres, and there's no fees to pay for the infrastructure that was put in now or to keep, to do that. So I would think if we're going to do that, it's much like Golden Valley, where we have a set fee and all that, and somebody to look at it, because we really never have looked at Horizon 6 on how we're going to manage that outside the area. That would be, I think, I'm not saying we won't accept this, but I think we need to have something set up, much like later on the agenda with the TV district, where we have nothing in place.
Ryan, is that something we need to bring back to ask for a policy?
Well, I mean, we could do as Supervisor Johnson suggested, to see about a policy for fees within the district. The district has the authority to set fees. In order to set fees, you have to do a notice, and there's got to be a public hearing and so forth. The concern that I have, and I think I expressed this to Supervisor Johnson, is that setting fees for these particular individuals is too late, at least right now, because these people are coming to us, they're giving you a petition, and they're saying, hey, please accept us into the district, but they're not under the assumption that they're going to have to pay these fees and so forth. So I don't think you're going to remedy this particular petition by setting fees and so on. I think what Supervisor Johnson is recommending is a good idea, but for a different meeting, I would recommend you address this petition here to determine whether to accept these people or not.
Supervisor Johnson said that it wouldn't pertain to this. He's talking about a policy going forward.
And Madam Chairman, that's my understanding. And Public Works Director Steve Latowski and I had a similar discussion. It was a great example in Golden Valley Improvement District. The fees are set so that initially, when the district was formed, the people within the district paid for all the infrastructure. If there's any additional infrastructure that's required in those districts, you go through a petition process, a petition to incur expenses. So the district actually paid for all those wonderful things, and it is reasonable, like Supervisor Johnson mentioned, to have staff evaluate a reasonable connection fee or something to where these people that are now wanting to enter into the district don't do so without any skin in the game, without paying for any of the improvements that the residents and the property owners previously approved. So in addressing this particular petition, you may want to postpone it until a policy is brought before the board and fees are brought before the board to pay additional to cover the cost of either the existing infrastructure or future improvements that are necessary for the system. So I believe that action would be appropriate for the board. I asked Steve the age-old question, is time on our side on this particular petition? And he said, yes, it is. So the board isn't compelled today to act on the petition because time is of the essence. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair, also, I think we need to, if we move ahead in something like that, we need to look at what the requirements can be from this other property. Right now, we have 1 acre parcels in Horizon 6. This other land is larger parcels, but it can be divided and subdivided down. So we need to kind of look at the, how far they can go down. I don't know that a business could be put in there, but if something could be water intensive, that goes in that area, it's something we need to look at.
Okay.
Chairman, if I could just add, the concern is that when these people signed the petition and submitted the petition to the board, they didn't know, they weren't aware about the setting of fees and so forth. So that's why I don't think that you can impose those fees on these persons, because that wasn't part of the petition process. Now, you can deny this. I mean, there's discretion here with the board here to say you can either accept their petitions and include them, or you could deny them. The basis being that denying would adding them to the district would not promote the public convenience, necessity, or welfare. That's a legitimate position that the board can take. It's just to impose the fees on these particular petitioners, I don't believe would be appropriate.
I tend to agree with you on that. So does anyone want to speak with anyone else about this matter?
Madam Chairman, I met with the applicant, and I don't believe that they were going to piggyback onto the existing infrastructure of that district. I believe they have to run a water line from city limits to their property.
And
That might be something that you take into consideration.
No, they can't do that. It has to go on through our system.
Interesting.
Now they can get city water. A lot of that's been annexed right around them. Then they could hook straight into the city. But if not, because the city charges the district when it comes up to the pumping station, and then makes it go up. So yeah, they couldn't. If they did, then that'd be on the pumping station and put in there, I'm pretty sure. Which would cost.
I believe this property's up on the side of a hill also. So the existing infrastructure won't serve the property.
Okay, is there anyone else who wants to opine on this? All right, then I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to just deny it at this time until we get a policy in place.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call. So this is to vote on the denial of agenda item 38.
And the denial would be on the basis that the public convenience, necessity, or welfare would not be met. As pointed out by Supervisor Johnson, that we don't have a policy in place right now for hookup fees and other fees that be associated with adding somebody to the district, which would impact the infrastructure and so forth.
But it's your opinion that because the applicants went in good faith on the information that they had, that wouldn't be appropriate for this particular case?
It wouldn't be appropriate to impose fees on these particular petitioners at this time. Now, if you deny it, it's denied, then you guys can come back with on a different agenda item, bring forth a policy, implement a policy. These petitioners can come back and try again. They can come back a second time, and then they know full well what the hookup fees are, what the other fees are associated with coming into the district. You could do that.
Okay.
And to clarify that, Madam Chair, it's not only the fees, it's the idea that there was an area, much like the cities have their water allotments. They have a water allotment for that area. Now we're going 127 acres, getting close to doubling the size. And we have, and at least in that one, there was, like I said, the 1 acre parcels and that sort of thing. So you kind of knew how much water would go out there. So I think we need to have a really good policy to say if we are taking other places in, this is the amount of water we can sell them, because if we let them in, obviously they think right now that they could have all the water they want like everybody else, and I think in the future, just when you have the rules and the set policy, it makes it a lot easier. It protects the people that are come in, plus the people that are there now.
Okay, so the denial of this would mean that applicant can bring it back after the policy is set, and but not.
Yes, that's correct. And I'll add, I think some of these, this is the second try for some of these. Is that correct, Supervisor Johnson? I thought this is a little bit further than was before, but I believe they had tried previously at one time, but they were worried about water capacity or something.
There could have been one time, I know I don't know if it's these people, but the people that border Horizon 6 refused to participate in the road program. I know that.
Okay.
So I'm uncertain whether it's the same people, but yes, they could come back. They could come back and apply with the new policies and stuff, if that's
All
what
right,
you want
we
to do.
have a motion to deny and a second. Can we take a roll call, please?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Angus?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay. Agenda item 39, this is sitting as the Board of Directors for the Malibu Road Improvement District. Discussion possible action to appoint Leslie Henley, P.E. Mojave County Public Works Engineer Manager, as District Engineer for the Malibu Road Improvement District and authorize district compensation to Fund 205, Highway User Revenue Fund. I do have somebody signed up to speak to this, and that would be Bradley Morrison. Come down and say your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, good morning, board members and all others. My name is Bradley Morrison. I live at 3284 West McConaughey Road, Golden Valley, Arizona, 86413. And all of you should have a letter that I sent by email, but I'm going to read it for the record. I am part of the Malibu Road Improvement District because I live on the corner of one of the side streets included in the project. I didn't lobby against this project originally because the cost seemed reasonable, and I thought that decision was better left to the property owners that live on Malibu Road. But after the potential exorbitant contract award for district engineer in December 2018, I read over the proposal more carefully and studied the Arizona revised statutes regarding Mojave County improvement districts and became concerned over some of the wording. I am concerned because there seems to be no limit to the final cost of this improvement. The petition to incur expense states, and therefore no maximum limit on the amount of any assessment or the aggregate of all assessments has been established. It is these kinds of disclaimers in the petition that bother me. It took a high-pressure sales effort to achieve the two-parcel majority to form the district, and this was based on the $1,165 total cost estimate provided by the county. This figure was the big selling point used to achieve the majority. Since the original estimate was done by the county engineering department, I would think they would have a pretty good idea if that figure is still obtainable as a total cost for this project or what the difference might be. It appears that property owners in the district will have to pay about $100 each to get the answer to this question. I am just afraid that awarding a contract for district engineer will get the ball rolling in a district that would not exist if a more accurate total cost estimate was used in acquiring the majority to form the district in the first place. With that said, I would just like to point out that I'm really not strongly opposed to this district as long as the cost of the project stays within reason of the figure used to form the district. After the meeting in December 17th of last year on the same kind of a vote regarding district engineer, I spoke with the original organizer of the district, Mr. Stan Lundstrom, and we were talking about various topics, including the cost. And I mentioned that I don't believe that this project, that he could have got the required signatures on the petition if the cost was $1,500. And he agreed with that statement. So my main purpose here today is just to make the board aware that cost was a big concern to the property owners in the district. And I'd just like to make sure if you approve a district engineer today, and it's my understanding they'll come back with a cash estimate, and then it would go to the resolution of intention, I guess. Now, if there's other things I'm skipping, that would be fine. But I just feel that I just want to make sure that we're able to vote and speak our piece if this should come up and the board will listen to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Let's hear from Jim Consolado.
Good morning, Honorable Supervisors Gould, Angus, Bishop, Johnson, and Watson. My name is Jim Consolado. I live at 3024 Malibu Road, Golden Valley, Arizona. On behalf of the 51% majority of the residents in the Malibu County, Malibu Road Improvement District, and on behalf and part of the organizing committee, we are in favor of appointing Engineer Les Henley as the Improvement District Engineer, not to exceed engineering costs that total $7,500 as outlined in agenda topic number 39. Having said that, we ask for this approval in the belief that those naysayers, the minority of the residents in the improvement district, that although their opinions and their points of view be respected, that not now or at any time during the improvement district process, that these views would overrule the majority or constitute a significant protest as defined in the ARS statutes, and especially in your eyes, the supervisors, as you perform as the district board of directors. I'd like to just conclude that, of course, we're all very much concerned about a reasonable cost, and I would like to say that the organizing committee and the majority of the people in the district would like to extend an abundant thank you for all the hard work being done by the county and its Public Works Department to help towards the successful completion of this improvement district. We totally appreciate the extra mile that you've gone. The difference between the original estimate for engineering and what we're possibly looking at now is just very pleasing and very satisfying. And what can I say? I'm just remarkably impressed at the hard work and the effort and the passion. I thank Jean Bishop for her support, and I would ask that you would all continue to support this project as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Constellato. Oh, Supervisor Gould has a question for Mr. Constellato.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
So when your district comes up with what your cost for the project is the petition to incur expense, is that another vote of the people?
My understanding is that it's a step-by-step process, and there will be a point, once we get the estimate, where another letter will go to all of the district residents, the proposed district residences, and once again, we will be before you, and you will be making a decision on whether or not to approve a contractor at an estimated, whatever the estimated cost is. So if I understand the County Improvement District process, as I said, outlined by some 64 ARS statutes, the time for the significant protest and the time for the protest built into the process is not today. It comes later when we go forward and we see if we can get an approval for a reasonable cost to complete the project. We also fully understand that the engineering cost presented in Agenda 39 topic does not include the administrative costs or the legal costs that will be necessary to actually successfully complete the project to its end. Did I answer your question?
Supervisor Gould, I can answer that question if you wish as well.
Thanks, Ryan.
So the petition occurs already happened. That will not happen again. That one's complete. The next step is to appoint the district engineer, which is what the board is debating and decide today. After that, the district engineer will make preliminary plans to show the location and type of the proposed improvements and estimates of the costs and expenses. The assessment for any lot shall not exceed those estimates. After the estimates, then there'll be a notice of resolution. The board here will pass the notice of resolution, assuming you do. If you pass the notice of resolution, then a notice will be sent out to the members of the district, who will then have an opportunity to object if they wish to, and then come back and you'll hear the objections if there are any.
So then, Ryan, it lies with the vote of the board then?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you once again.
Okay. Lewis Stenerly? I'm sorry if I botched your name.
Lewis Sterling, 3249 Malibu Road. I understand you guys want to pave this road and you want money. So how about if I just say you only want $100? How about if I just say, well, I can't pay my power bill that month because I'm trying to get the road paved, or my power bill should be shut off. I'm on Social Security, SSI. I'd like to know when y'all sent this document out for us to sign because half or 3/4 of those people are no longer living on that street. They're up in heaven, or wherever they moved to. If y'all pave that road, it's just going to turn into a giant drag strip. I mean, that road's an easy 1/4 mile long strip without a curve in it. If y'all want to do something, you should send officers out there, try to slow people down. I know the speed limit's 25. I know everybody's complaining about the dust, but it was dirt when y'all moved there. It don't bother us. But I just don't want it to turn into a drag strip. There's kids that walk down that road. I mean, y'all got kids probably. I'd hate to see one of them get picked off because of somebody out there racing. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you should speak to Mr. Consolado. This was a district that began, organically through the residents of that district. So I think your questions can be answered by Mr. Consolado.
Okay, how do I get a hold of him?
He's sitting right over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your help.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't talk in front of people.
Oh, no
Sir,
problem.
Sir, this is not the board paving the road. This was your neighbors that took a vote to decide to pave the road. So it wasn't as if this is not our idea. This is your neighbor's idea.
I understand.
And we're just following state statute.
Sent this thing to us in the mail, and I thought we were supposed to show up for all.
Sure. I just wanted to make it clear that it's not, it wasn't our employees or the Board of Supervisors.
I'm not blaming y'all for nothing. Not blaming.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we have one more, and that is Antoinette Cardinali.
Okay, it's already been addressed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this is in your district. Supervisor Bishop, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I will make the motion that we, as the Board of Directors, appoint Leslie R. Hinley, Mojave County Public Works Engineer Manager, as District Engineer for the Malibu Road Improvement District, and authorize the district compensation to fund out of Fund 205, Highway User Fund, for the district engineer to produce the requisite plans, specifications, and estimate for future Board of Resolution intention consideration on improvements to the Malibu Road, Huntington Drive, Tony Joe Drive, as accepted by the board under petition to incur expense in an amount not to exceed $7,500.
We need a second. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 40, this is brought by Jeannie Kench, Mojave County Assessor. Discussion and possible action, approve redeeming of the waivers for the applicants who missed the March 1st deadline so they will be eligible for property tax exemption from the 2019 year pursuant to ARS 42-11153B. This was continued? Was this from another meeting?
No, this was the same, similar, it was a similar item, but it was not continued from a previous meeting. This is a new set of applicants.
Got it.
Chairman, board members, this normally is on the consent agenda, but there was an error and they put it on as an agenda item. We're going forward with what we had discussed at the last meeting.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm here to answer for you.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question, but I thought we were waiting to come up with a plan for the board to address these before we kept pushing through.
Yes, we were going to be communicating with all of your their offices, so when the people do come up to you, you can, you know what to do. We'll be doing that. I was a little surprised that this was on the agenda this way, but we are here, and I'm here to answer any questions for you. We're not going to be accepting applications after June of this. You'll be getting the last ones. Terry? The second July board meeting will be the last exemptions we'll ask you to approve. After that, next year it'll be till March as statutory.
I guess what I thought was we were going to look at them to find out if there was a reason why people were just ignoring us, or what the deal was, because the attorney said it was illegal for us to do it that way. But why, I think, at least from my perspective, it's illegal to do. We say we're going to, well, we'll do it till June. I guess that was the problem.
Well, we've been doing it that way because it was advised otherwise back in '99, and it was told that we were allowed to do it all the way up till September. And then it was reopined by our attorneys now, and they found that the assessor's not allowed to. You are, but the assessor's not allowed to go beyond the March. So what we're doing is for the benefit of the public to be able to offer this year, just a little bit longer, and then next year it'll end at the statutory deadline.
Right, but what's in front of us doesn't have a reason for why they're asking for an extension.
Every single one of them normally has a reason why they're asking, and if you'd like that list, we'd be glad to offer that to you as to why we allow it to go forward. But after this, again, it's going to be, we're going to work with the board here so the constituents can come to you and say, I was in the hospital until March, and I wasn't able to apply, and then you can decide if you're going to accept that beyond the deadline.
Right, that's what it is. I just don't feel comfortable without having something in front of us.
Okay, so basically, this is the way it has been done.
It has been done, yes.
People did it based on that information, but going forward, like the other issues
Yes, so the last bunch that you will get will be the second meeting in June.
Okay. So I need a motion.
Madam Chair? In the backup material, there is a list of the exemptions and their reason for it. It's brief. It doesn't go into any specifics, but it just says disability or whatever. So
yeah.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve, and we'll get online in July.
Thank you. And I'll be glad to communicate with you this summer so we can meet with all of your administrators and such to know what to expect.
Okay. Then I need a second. Do I have a second? I'll make the second. Oh, go ahead.
I'll second the motion.
Very good. Supervisor Watson seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. 4-1. Thank you very much. Agenda item 41, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Television Improvement District, discussion and possible action, presentation of proposed form of mission statement and goals and objectives for the Mojave County Television Improvement District. Mike?
Madam Chairman, I have Vaughn Orr here, who's the manager of the district.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. This item is brought back to you from the April 15th meeting, wherein the board requested that we develop some goals and objectives, as well as bring the district into the 21st century, determine whether licenses could be changed from a translator to an originator or broadcaster, and whether statutes give the county authority to actually generate programming. I developed the mission statement, goals, and objectives for the district based on our current operating standards. On the mission statement, I would like to recommend one small change, because we do rebroadcast signals from Phoenix and Las Vegas, but we also do a Prescott station as well. So I'd like to recommend that one additional change. Basically, we are just trying to ensure that we adhere to all FCC licenses, that we maintain the district and the communication sites to ensure disruptions to service are minimized. We'd like to, and all of these, that's how we're currently operating the district. Maintain the emergency broadcast system utilized for notifying Mojave County residents about local emergencies or disasters. Of course, we want to continue to be responsive to customers with problems with reception, provide notifications about outages, and hopefully we're able to provide an ETA about when service would be restored. We'd like to maintain a levy rate that will provide for the maintenance and enhancement of the district. And authorize entities who possess necessary licenses at TVID communication sites to be rebroadcast, and then based upon negotiated agreements be maintained by the county subcontractor. So, and that's basically the mission statement and the goals and objectives. One thing I'd like to point out is that while there was a request to bring the district into the 21st century, the district has been operating at a deficiency since FY16. We went from 0.0867 cents to 0.02. This amount of levy will give us 2 years of operating at our current levels. Second year might be rather thin.
Any questions?
And actually, on the legal perspective, I will turn that over to Ryan. He did the assessment on Arizona revised statutes. And then our DC counsel also provided some insight as to whether or not our rebroadcast license could be changed into an originator. And he said that it would, however, there'd be some parameters, additional requirements that would be placed upon us in order for that to occur.
So I was asked the question of whether the Arizona law, the Arizona revised statutes, allows the TV district to generate programming. And my conclusion was that the Arizona revised statutes do not allow the district to generate programming. We are limited to the relay, so television translator and relay facilities is what the district is limited to. So the opinion is in the backup. You can see that for more detail. But as I wrote, it appears that the powers and functions of the television district are limited to retransmitting the programs and signals of a television broadcast station, not to generate programming.
Okay. You have any questions?
No, I think we're just on 41 is just a mission statement, aren't we?
Okay.
So we do the mission statement first and then go to the next one. I have no problem. I think the mission statement's good. I'd make a motion to accept the mission statement.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 42, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Television Improvement District, discussion and possible action, presentation of proposed form of policy to add channels to our television district system.
And I think we've received the information already.
Yeah,
I have no problem with what was, I'd accept whatever's been placed before us.
It's a motion to accept. Or do you want to have
So
something?
this rules out my own TV show then?
Yeah, I think so.
We'd ruled that one out a long time ago.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 43, the TV2 asked that this be pulled from the agenda. He thanks very much the county for all the work that you've done, and it's been a long time, but judging on the information that's been brought before us and from the last meeting, he respectfully asks that we withdraw his request. All right, item 44. Present staff findings on the costs associated with rotating the location of Mojave County Board of Supervisor meetings between Kingman, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu City, and Colorado City. I believe that was your request, Supervisor Gould?
It was, Madam Chairman. Scrolling down to the cost, I got a little lost on one of the smaller costs was $15 times 11. And I can't figure out what the $15 is. Because it says the lunch allowance is $13.
Okay.
So I'm unclear if somebody can come up, they can answer that particular question. But the biggest chunk of the expense appears to be non-productive time. And I would argue that the time is only non-productive if it's made non-productive. Because I would assume that many of the people that would be traveling to attend the meetings have things that they need to look at in that area. And they could consolidate that trip with this trip. And if you have people that don't have a reason to be at the meeting, need not come to the meeting, that's also would be a reduction in the non-productive time. But I would argue that it's only non-productive if you don't attempt to make it productive. But Ms. Orr had a comment on the 15 times 11.
Madam Chairman, Supervisor Gould, that's really just a Scrivener's error. The first time we calculated it, we were told $13 per lunch, and then it was corrected. It just wasn't corrected up above in the narrative.
There's some other, since the mileage is not far enough to require the meal subsidy or the meal per diem, wonder why we're sticking that in there.
Well, we stuck it in there simply because for latitude. Let's say elected officials have a little bit more latitude when traveling and having a lunch and being reimbursed. More than likely, the majority of your staff would not partake in a lunch. But we figured we had to put something in there just as a placeholder.
Sure.
For, if a supervisor asks staff to sit down and have lunch, discuss some issues, we're certainly going to do that. And
To make that non-productive time productive time.
make it productive time.
There you go. Thank you.
Certainly.
Anyone else have any questions on this?
Madam Chair, the only thing I have is back when people were elected as county supervisors, they went on a tour of the county. When I asked for a cost of what that cost, it was said there was salaries as discussed at November 5th meeting. Additional funding will not be necessary for regular staff time associated with the tour due to the cost of all staff being already included within the current funding of the county operations. So it's kind of hard to change it and say now we're going to say, well, now it's lost productive. If it wasn't lost productive then, it shouldn't be lost productive now.
Supervisor Johnson, you're talking about the tour the new supervisors got?
Yep.
That was given to us? Okay. Well, this item is just, I don't think we even have to take any action. It's just some information that was requested. Is that true? We don't need to take action on this item?
You don't have to take action.
Is it agendized for action?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else on that one before we move on? Item 45, discussion and possible action, approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution Number 2019-039, establishing a Census 2020 Complete Count Committee for Mojave County for the promotion of the best possible count of all residents. This was, we spoke about this at, I think, last month at some meetings. Anyone want to ask any questions or say anything, make a statement? Or do we need a motion?
Well, Madam Chair, yeah, I have the same objections. I think I'm not sure how we got the people that are picked to be on it to begin with. Looking at all of the staffing or appointed people that from the examples that were given, they were more of movers and shakers in the communities, and we seem to be putting all of our staff on. I don't know what kind of timeline it's going to take, but in the backup, it's talking about monthly meetings and reporting back to the board. The cities seem to be doing, and we have in there also where the cities are going to appoint people to ours. I would think if we were worried about the count, then we would be worried about the unincorporated areas. And I don't think the cities have any concerns about, getting into our unincorporated areas. And I'm not sure, nobody's ever showed us how they make the claims that we have, we get $2,000 a person. What program are we going to get extra money in if we show we have 10,000 more people? I don't think we're getting any more money at all. I mean, I know we want to have an accurate count, but I mean, at the worst, how many people could we be missing in Mojave County? I think the only time we get the funding is on the federal grants that go to the community development or whatever it's called. That's about the only one. Any ideas, Mike? I don't.
Madam Chairman, Supervisor Johnson, I know there are programs. I doubt if we actually counted up our dollars, and basically what we did was take the representative's word for it, how much the state of Arizona would be getting per capita. I believe there's also an issue with trying to count everybody, and not everybody wants to be counted, and the participation that the federal government is going to be putting into it, the resources that the federal government is going to be put into it, and the recognition that the county and the cities may have to participate if we wanted an accurate count or to try to count every nose. So it depends on the board. This was a item, I believe, that Supervisor Angus brought back from NACO that they identified as an important issue.
Right, and plus the state spoke to all the county managers about it.
Yes, they did.
State thinks it's important. I just think for this particular item, I just think there's too many people on this committee. I mean, I'm not adverse. I think it's a good idea to have a representative from the cities because they're doing their own thing, and my biggest fear is that everyone's going to be doing different things. So I think it's a good idea to have a representative so we're all on the same page, but I don't know why we need so many people from the county.
Madam Chairman, this was an effort. This was an effort for staff to get into those people's minds that wanted this created and try to create something that we had no idea. When you called me, you said, Mike, where are we at on this committee? I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. So we tried to educate ourselves, and staff development services tried their best to put together what they believed was the vision for the county. You recall the discussion was, what's the city doing and how is the city going to participate in this? Well, to correct that deficiency that was identified by the board, the staff believed, well, maybe possibly if we put somebody appointed by the city mayors, that would correct that deficiency and cover those concerns that the board members had regarding staff city participation. So it can be whatever you all want it to be.
Well, I think we need to talk about this more. I just think there's too many. You agree with me? There's just too many county people on this committee. I just don't want to waste their time. I don't think it's necessary. Did you want to say something?
Chairman and Board, I appreciate your concerns. My concern, I know I was asked to be on this. My concern is we're gonna have some challenges. Addressing is one of them. It's a huge challenge I think we're gonna need to take. I know that what we're supposed to do is promote the census, but we also need it to be fair and accurate. And without absolute addresses, we're not gonna have that. So I think that the sooner we start on this, the better.
Okay. So it makes sense for the assessor to be on this committee?
And
Maybe
we're gonna be
that would be,
yes.
I just don't think that we really, I understand community, public health, but again, it's time away from, and it's going to be work. So I think we need to think about this a little bit more. Can we just bring it back? I'll talk to you about it.
Absolutely, Madam
Maybe some
Chairman.
input from the supervisors to Mike about it, and then we'll come up with something that we can all take a bite out of next meeting, okay? So I guess I need a motion to,
Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
I believe our state shared revenue is based on population, but it could be mistaken. So if it's a limited pie and the other counties attempt to run their numbers up, that's going to come at our detriment if we don't run our numbers up also. And I'm not talking about fictitious numbers. I'm just making sure that everybody's counted.
right, exactly.
Not how many toilets they have, just people.
But I guess with that, Supervisor Gould, the thing gets me is, how many people do you think, even if we said there's 40,000 people we didn't count, are we going to get that much more money?
I don't know. Yeah, what's the return on the investment? Right.
Again, we talk about the sum total of all, like we're just not Monty County, we're the sum total of the state too, and it goes to representation, and, we should get an accurate
Just
count.
get crammed in a more Republican congressional district. So.
Yeah.
Chairman Angus,
Yeah.
I understood that time was of the essence to get this committee together, and it doesn't seem like there's an awful lot of county employees involved in this. But we could just start the committee with our assessor, Jeannie Kinch, and if she needs more help, then all of our county departments, I'm sure, would assist. But that would give each supervisor an opportunity to get their person
people.
on board. So that's 5 more people to help the assessor. And I know all of our departments, anything she needed would be at her fingertips. So personally, I'd like to see this be organized as soon as possible, because, one of my concerns is what if our count goes down rather than goes up? I mean, we really do need to get started on an official.
No, I agree on that. I just want to make sure we're doing it in the best possible way. So here it says, for being nominated by each city's mayor and approved by the board. So the cities are doing it themselves. you know, and working hard to do it. So we want 4 people from the cities that are being, because they've approved their own. They have their own committee. I think just having a representative from the city to report on what they're doing is really enough. Because like Supervisor Johnson's saying, we're really talking about the unincorporated areas. I think the cities are going to do a good job on their own thing. We don't have to worry too much about that. We got to worry about what we have.
Madam
Agree on
Chairman,
that?
I agree. I think our folks can work with the people from the cities without the people from the cities actually being on the committee.
So Chairman Angus, I would like to make a motion that we approve the adoption of Resolution 2019-039 with the changes discussed, and make Jeannie Canch, our assessor, in charge of that, and continue with the idea of each supervisor appoint 1 member from the community to be on the committee, and eliminate the city's participation at this point. We can amend that later if needed.
Okay? That's a motion. Do we have a second? Or you want to amend that? Is there something?
I was just trying to make it cleaner.
Supervisor Watson, do you have anything to offer?
I was just going to second the motion.
Okay.
Under discussion, Madam Chair, what kind of a budget is this going to have?
Mike?
Because the point is, and the assessor brought it up, this is supposed to be a rah-rah cheerleading, get out and get the census done. We don't take the census ourselves. So there's got to be a budget for advertising or mailers, or it could be expensive to get out. And then if the people aren't on the grid to begin with, out like say where
Did we find out?
school lives, not gonna do any good to send a mailer. They probably don't get the newspaper.
Did we find out?
You got
if
that
the
interweb thing, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did
if
we
you're in the
find
right
out
place.
if the state is coughing up any money for this?
And Madam Chairman, we did set a dollar amount
Oh, you did? Okay.
originally.
Chairman Angus, members of the board. At this point, based on the discussion at the last meeting, the funding was removed with the intent being that once the committee is formed and kind of gets their bearings, that they would return to the board with any request for funding with those proposals.
And Madam Chair, what was that dollar amount, Tim?
Initially, we had suggested $75,000.
$5,000, correct.
Which was based on a dollar per person, which was the advice that was given by some, by some of the other agencies that have formed, as well as from the Census Committee. That's where that came from. But it's been removed from this proposal.
And the reason, Madam Chairman, was there was some heartburn with going ahead and specifying a dollar amount early, like Mr. Walsh said.
Okay. So in this resolution, there's no budget.
Right.
And if after they meet, if they come up with something, then they'll come back for approval. And we can talk about it more. All right, there's a motion on the table. And is there a second? Oh, Supervisor Watson seconded it. Okay, let's take a roll call.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes?
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much for your work on that. Now, the last item is we met in executive session about it, and it's to discussion of possible action to provide an update regarding the status of litigation in the Transwestern Pipeline versus Arizona Department of Revenue.
Chairman Angus, the County Attorney's Office, our recommendation is to appeal the trial court's judgment issued in Transwestern Pipeline Company versus Arizona Department of Revenue et al. In tax case 2016-000931 TX 2016-000951 and TX 2017-000531.
Okay, so after you say all that, someone's got to still make that motion.
Yeah, somebody needs to make the motion in second.
So it's all that wording.
Chairman Angus, I will make a motion that this board votes to appeal the trial court judgment on the tax valuation appeals as outlined by Brian Esplin.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I think with that, we are done. This meeting's adjourned.
So Jenny.